We have arrived at our destination at the event horizon. Let's get these guys out of their grav tanks and get their generational perspective and review. Gen Wars. Welcome to Gen Wars, the generational podcast between the Gen Xers and the millennials. I'm your Captain Nick. Let's meet the rest of our crew. Joining me on the Gen X side, we have our good friend Cam, and still a little green behind the ears, we have our millennials, Steven and Katherine. How's everybody doing today?
Great.
Great. Terrific.
Just hanging out in the green room.
Steven, did you end up making it through this movie? We had a text message chain that you didn't manage through it the first go around. You fell asleep.
Yeah.
It's going to be kind of hard to
You
do a
don't
review
sound
if you're
convincing
not
there,
awake.
Steven.
Oh yeah. I gave it some more time. I definitely we'll go into it more later, but yeah, it was not a great first watch, I'll be honest.
Really? Oh.
Okay.
I have reasons though, so I think it's not fair to the movie, but it is what it is. Sorry, it's just I'm doing the review.
And that's what happens when we get a millennials perspective.
Millennial perspective.
Mine is not Steven's perspective.
It had nothing to do with the movie.
I'm glad I watched it
technical-
yesterday and had some time to chew on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
I watched it on Saturday as well, so I had some time to before we recorded this. I think we had some technical difficulties before starting this, so Steven might bring a little bit of salt to this.
Hey,
which
Oh,
is good,
Steven
which
brings
is
all
good.
the salt.
I do.
All right. Well, before we dive into this, we just want to before we dive into this, I want to catch everybody up who hasn't watched this movie in a while and give a quick little plot synopsis. A spaceship that's been missing for 7 years. The event horizon finally reemerges and sends out a distress signal. But when the team that's sent out to investigate, they discover that something has taken over the craft. We're going to try something a little different here and a little less structured in this episode. We are going to continue or not abandoning our scoring system. We're just going to save that till later. So I do have a question that I want to start this off with, and I don't know if there is an answer to this because there isn't a lot more to be had of this movie. I found out that the studio mishandled this movie, the reels for this movie, and a lot of the movie got destroyed, so there's not a lot of extra material, which is terrible when you make, you spend, I think the budget was $60 million on this movie, and
Yes.
it's pretty much trashed now to time, unfortunately. But since Sam Neill's character, Weir, his name's Weir, if he was the ship calling to him kind of in his dreams and throughout the movie? I guess once he gets on the ship, it's kind of you're inside the belly of the beast, but was it calling to him previously? We start off the movie with him waking up from a dream and about his wife. Did he dream about the wife, or was he just saw himself in the ship floating all cut up, and then
That was one of them.
he wakes
yes.
up?
I think he
I know,
was.
but his
Go ahead.
just is that a since he built it, is it kind of his baby? It came back to from the other side. Is it kind of like speaking to him because it was his creation, or did he design this thing with the intention of sending it someplace else? We learned that he's trying to send it to Alpha Centauri. I believe that's where they were trying to send it, and missed the mark or sent it too far into another dimension.
Too far.
We don't know. Do we know that if that was his intention to send it somewhere else to try to find his wife in an afterlife, or is it? There's a lot of questions here. I'm just kind of throwing anything out, these all out on the table. So Feel free to jump on them.
Detective. I mean, I always thought about it before that it was he sent it there on purpose. I always kind of got that vibe. Now that you say that, like,
he does give off that vibe, like he's not delivering information. They keep asking where it's going, and he's like, I don't know. He's playing stupid, and that kind of lends to that.
I'm just a scientist engineering guy. What do I know? I just have dreams and stuff. It's just me.
Well, that's kind of where that thought process started leading to, was that he intentionally, he said he was sending it to Alpha Centauri, but actually was sending it somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's not how I interpreted it, though. I feel like it was...
Okay.
I know, he did mention that it was like an accident. He didn't intentionally send it that way, but it was once you saw like that world of chaos or whatever, you see the dark within yourself, then you're kind of like taken over by that. So he was the creator of it. It was like his baby, but I feel like it wasn't intentional. So I don't know.
I always thought they were going to hell. Like I always thought that was the destination in mind. And then upon this like rewatch, that wasn't mentioned at all. Like I developed this theory like just in my head, like from watching it so long ago, but that's what I always thought it was, and like it's not that.
Well, at the very end, he's sending them back there. He opens the portal, opens the black hole to go back there. So I guess maybe that's what you just took and inferred through the whole thing and made it that.
Plus, the ship was designed like a large cross. Like there's definitely some evangelical kind of things.
I missed that.
There's a ton of symbolism in the design of the ship. Like some of the windows are shaped like coffins. It was also taken from
Alien, like the Nostromo. Yeah.
Yeah, which is an infinitely better movie.
I mean, like
the movie was like, boring.
Obviously, Alien was
clearly,
better, but I
did.
It's had some good jump scares in it.
So you're saying the windows you said there was symbolism, like the windows are like coffins and stuff, Steven?
Yeah, the windows are coffins. A lot of the hallways are shaped like irises and eyes, and like that's a bit. Eyes is a lot of the symbolism in this, as far as like looking into yourself.
What angels look like.
Right. Well, I mean, it's just Doom. They even use a sound effect for the gates opening from Doom.
Right in the beginning, the first shot. Yeah.
I haven't seen
but
Doom.
After he,
so I don't know. Yeah.
It's a game. You don't.
The video game from.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
The early 90s.
I thought there was a movie,
right.
though.
No, there's not. No. Mm-mm.
Oh, yes, there is a movie.
Yes.
It's
No,
not
not.
great.
Yes.
No, there's not.
Okay, that's
It's rocktastic.
The Rock is in it.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay.
It shouldn't exist.
It was one of his first movies, and around the time of his first movies, it was in that. We'll give him this. We're going to give him some. Let him run in Hollywood. And
Don't you dare step on the Scorpion King to get
I'm gonna
to
step
whatever
on the
that
neck.
was. Do not.
No, I'm saying those are the first
So Nick is
movies
saying it
that
was
he
a turd
had
sandwich.
that weren't great. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I
Well,
think
they
there
went
were
also-
other not great movies before that.
They tried to do first-person perspective in the Doom movie. At the end, they were like, "Hey, the game is in first person, so we'll incorporate that from the game into the movie," and it was not great. So, but did you say regarding Henry?
No, Hardcore Henry.
Oh, Hardcore Henry. This came out first.
I forgot
though.
about
the
that
Doom,
movie.
The Doom movie came out first.
Hardcore
Henry actually was fun and actually did it way better.
It was so much fun. We digress. Let's get back into space.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will say I
Dr. Weir?
did enjoy that first transition. Speak of going into space from the Paramount logo into space.
Yeah,
I think
I
that
thought
was
cool.
very classy. It
Yeah.
really
Music.
bamboozled me that I was going to get into a good
Very
film that
90s,
I
yeah.
enjoy. But it set a good stage. It was a good starting off
It
point.
did. You know, I mean, 2015, first colony on the moon. 2030.
We're living that future.
There was a lot of text at the beginning.
First mining operation on Mars. 2040. It's real. That was a pretty ambitious timeline. Just saying. Here's 2024. Still on Earth. No active stations on the moon yet.
What was?
Yeah.
What was the year on this? Was it 97?
When it was made, 97.
97.
Okay.
97.
Yeah, literally, like this just coming out with the practical effects that it had. Very good. I like the practical effects, the set designs, and everything.
All the practical.
Fantastic.
Top notch.
Yes.
Top notch.
Fantastic.
CGI.
Yeah. There's no.
Jurassic Park was around. We can, Jurassic Park. And
the spaceship on coming into the planet was good, but somehow the spaceship in space looked dumb, and I didn't want to look at it anymore.
Yeah.
So those were all miniatures. That was all practical too.
It was all miniatures. That's what I had a note about that. If it was miniatures.
Yeah.
Not every shot. There was one shot where they're going into the cockpit view, like they're
But that
like going around.
still was matched. Yeah, that was still matched up with a miniature shot.
Yeah. I read somewhere that the beginning scene of showing the rotation of the ship and then the interior, that cost half the budget.
Yeah, with the really weird looking packs of things floating around.
Like water bottle, floating around. Yeah.
No,
have you guys seen Jurassic Park yet?
No, it wasn't that shot. It was the space station shot when he first wakes up, and then we pull out to see the space station. And the Earth is there behind him, or what? That cost a third of the budget.
That's foolishness.
That's $20 million.
That's
of
egregious to do that with this film.
$60 million. Again, it's 1997, 1996.
Well, I think it just sets the precedence that this is all style and no substance. This entire film is just every frame looks cool for the most part, but the story and the tension that is supposedly there when tying it together is not great at all. I think...
See, I didn't feel that at all.
No.
I felt the tension there built the whole time.
Yeah, from the opening scene when we go off into space from Paramount, that. As soon as the music hit, I felt the tension.
I think the movie exists in a world where Alien is already a thing, and it just does it infinitely better. So if anyone's watching this movie and has seen Alien is the hard winner by far. And if your whole movie is based on and you also have what's the scary movie, the thriller where they're in the hotel, Jack Nicholson, The Shining. So you basically have the same movie but in space, and The Shining just does it better.
That's what I have in my notes.
It's just better. So it's cool that this film exists. It inspires a lot of media that I enjoy, that I think is really cool. But to the scope of the plot and the scope of the film just works better at a smaller scale when you're talking about tension building and building interactions. When you're kind of doing this everybody has their own guilt subplot that kind of leads to their death, and they're also in space with ghost ships, but also it's hell, and it's an ethereal hell. It's not a direct hell where you would see in Doom or in something like Callisto Protocol or Dead Space. They do it a lot better with the same plot. Now,
okay, so I have to stop you there for a second.
Uh-huh.
You said a small space. This ship isn't. I mean, it's big,
Scope.
but they only take place in pretty much two areas of this ship. We don't spend a lot of time in the hallway, and it's either in the room or in one of the med bay or on the cockpit.
I'm not talking about literal space. I'm talking about scope of concept.
Okay.
So dude has to watch hotel, is spooky and goes insane.
Sure.
Dude goes shoots hell beasts, is good action and spooky. Now you have people go reclaim ship that is ghost ship, but also is spiritual, maybe, question mark. Dude goes insane, kind of, maybe, or is possessed. Don't know. And you're not given...
Possessed.
Is he possessed?
Yeah.
Or is he just insane?
Oh,
Yeah.
Everyone's been possessed by this ship.
Yes,
By,
the ship is
by this
sentient.
point. The old crew,
Yeah.
gone. The new crew, thanks for joining.
Yeah.
You're gonna
That's
be
why
gone
it said
soon, too.
save yourself. Save yourself, not...
Right, but
Yeah,
I thought it was all
mistaken
implied.
translation.
Like, it's not necessarily for fact
What's
that this... of possession.
No,
Yeah,
because
And-
but the kid that gets sucked into the void, the black hole, he comes out and he's doing he's unaware of what he's doing. He's completely possessed until he gets in the airlock and starts freaking out that he's like, oh no, how am I here? What's happening?
He became
That's
lucid,
100% possession. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not temporary insanity?
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
That's like
He was knocked out, if anything. He was unconscious.
Yeah,
But it's still an
the ship's
ethereal
purpose was to
threat.
just-
It's not like a literal, like
Yeah.
there's like the demon guy or whatever. And it was too loose for me to enjoy.
But the ship
I feel like
there were a
itself
lot
is a
of-
being. The ship itself is the monster.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where I had
Yeah.
a note for you, Steven, that I was like, this is
Just
kind
like
of a
the
monster
tornado
movie in
can be
way.
a monster, the ship can also be a monster.
Yeah, but it's kind of lame though. I don't know.
I don't,
Wait, hold on. And Twister was it?
No, yeah, it wasn't.
Where was I on that movie?
No, Twister was great because it like I'm really struggling with articulating my thought process with it.
It's fine.
So what you're saying,
even-
if this movie took place in the Midwest, you'd be okay with it?
Did
You cut
your
out real bad on
microphone
that.
cut
You're gonna
out?
have to
It's
re-deliver
cut
that
out.
one.
If this movie took place in the Midwest, would it be better for you?
Yes, if it was like a house or something, maybe, and it was like built on hell, and you actually saw like monsters or something, maybe it would do it for me. And
Sometimes they come back.
so this falls into the same thing that the Cloverfield movie, where they're in space and they're kind of like going through the dimensional things, and that's very similar as well, where the ship kind of like is absorbing them into the wall and they're getting like glitched around and stuff, and the threat is just like surviving the ship. It's just I don't
Which
mind the
Cloverfield
plot.
movie are you talking about?
Yeah, I have not seen
The
Cloverfield.
second one? 10 Cloverfield Lane?
No,
Was there
the
the
third
third one that I
Yeah.
missed?
Yep, there's another one. It's
Yeah,
like the
not the one with
Cloverfield
John-
effect or something
Wasn't it
like
John
that.
Goodman?
Oh,
Right?
That's the
Cloverfield
second one.
Paradox.
Cloverfield Paradox. It's kind of the
Isn't
same
it a
show.
show on
show.
Netflix or something?
Will it make money? Chances are no.
Yeah, Cloverfield Paradox
It's on Netflix.
kind of did the same thing for me. So it's just not engaging enough to where it's the same plot of, and again, I'll push it on like Alien or Dead Space. Now, granted, Dead Space, a video game, very well could be a movie of this caliber and would
mean, it-
just be better.
Seemingly took a lot from this movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
those
Oh,
guys
it directly inspired
definitely
the
watched
game.
This movie
Right.
to make Dead Space.
Right.
Just saying.
Because it needed to be done better. That's why they made it game, because they're like, dang, this is really cool. I like all of this that's going on. It was just a bad movie. It performed bad, and it's only a cult classic because it's very inspiring in its visuals, not because it had a good plot.
Disagree.
Okay.
Disagree.
Tell me about that.
Yeah.
Disagree.
Like, I mean, you're talking a lot of years later for this film. At the time when this came out, they're the only kind of sci-fi adventures that we had in the realm. We probably had Starship Troopers, and Alien 3 is probably out. Maybe Alien 4. I forget the timeline on that. But like, as far as space adventures go, and you want to hone in on the Alien franchise and it's been done, Alien 3 was not a well-received movie. That was like
That was
93,
2015.
right?
No, 2015. For Alien 3, that was 2015. Why did no? That's what is that? What is coming up? This 2009.
game.
No, that's the video game. Okay, this isn't it either. What the?
All right. I'll go search.
Come on, internet, give me better.
Enhance.
Okay, 1992. There we go. 1992. Sorry.
All right,
Fail on interneting.
Yeah, so like during the time, and like to set the stage when this movie's coming out, like there's not a whole lot of competition, and Alien 3 was not a well-received movie. It also became cult classic, mostly because of a director's cut. But that aside, this movie was suspenseful in a way that those weren't, because like that wound up going to a prison system. It wasn't out in space. You still had the same theme to it, and you know, it was trying to copy its own stuff. I mean, besides Aliens, tell me a movie in the Alien franchise that really diverted so much from its own, you know, formula. I feel they nod off to Alien as well. Like when Justin or Jack Noseworthy's on the exam table, you know, that's very, you know, right up the lane there. Same thing I mentioned earlier, Flatliners. Flatliners was another movie where, you know, they kind of breached into the other world, and it's like their problems came back with them, and that's kind of what's being experienced here, is like it's feeding on their fears and the things that they still have trauma over, in a way to kind of expose them to, you know, being fully possessed. But I like it's cult classic because of when it came out, and you know, it wasn't readily available for people to see. But
and
this
took inspiration.
Movie.
It took you're saying, it took the inspiration from what came before it. Like,
I don't think it was copying. It was a unique idea.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
and
I thought it was incredibly unique. I enjoyed it.
They have their sleep pods or their grav tanks. That, you know, they have that camaraderie before the mission with specifically. For me, Alien was I had only seen it. I don't even know if I had seen Alien before I had seen Aliens, just because it was a horror movie and my parents were like, you're not watching that. But I go over to our friend's house, and you know, his mom didn't care, so I got to see you know, people with miniguns and the rifles blowing up aliens all over the place. And I'm like, this movie's
the
awesome.
M1,
but
the M4A1,
yes,
over and under grenade launcher.
But yeah, like they have that very like, here's setup, here's our team, where our camaraderie before the storm that we're about to enter, and builds that tension, builds that when people start losing their mind, you're like, oh no. And I think they did. Yes, they added jump scares, but the jump scares worked, building that
really
tension,
did.
Not knowing where the next one was about to hit.
The only thing that didn't hit with those jump scares was the lack of budget on those CGI. Like, I think the first no eyes scene that came up, I was like, oh God, please go wipe that off and put your eyes back on. I don't want to see this anymore. That was scarier than the actual effect and the intention on it. Spoiler alert, you're dropping on Spirit and Intent. But no eyes Sam, like Dr. Grant with no eyes.
Yeah.
So they did it. They did it for the. I guess that when he does have no eye, we've jumped all the way to the end of the movie where he has no eyes. When he's gouged his own eyes out, he's cut up, and
that part was cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was cool.
Yes,
that was
but
great.
Yes,
makeup.
when they pushed in on his face, you could see the terrible eye job that they did for him. But everything else looked great. I mean, that's a lot of prosthetics you got to put on. To have that at the end of the day.
I'd also like to point out that, and I don't know how this is possible in the timeline, but in 2047, we are still rocking CDs.
Yeah, she's trying to pull it out of the...
That's the correct media.
A CD is stuck here.
when they just...
Get my Discman on, I gotta go for a spacewalk.
Hey, when Warner Music conglomerate just decides to yank all the digital files, what are you gonna do?
Gonna raise a flag. Oh look, it's a skull and crossbones. Hey, Captain.
So something before we get too far away from it, the where you're saying like that you were laying out that timeline of like, oh, you got to meet the crew, they had that camaraderie, and then you had like that calm before the storm, and then you started getting into the jump scares. Which movie were you describing? Were you describing this one or Alien?
Both. I mean, well,
So
aliens. I'm
movie.
speaking
like,
again.
like
I'm
what
speaking
does this
aliens.
movie do?
I
that
didn't
has
say.
It's not.
It's not the same movie.
It's
They
literally the
took
same movie.
inspiration
It's literally
from.
the same movie.
It's not the same movie.
Quiet,
Just
Steven.
because there was also mining done on Alien doesn't mean that these are the same people. Those were miners. These are a search and rescue team. Their ship
Correct.
was possessed. They brought back some weird thing that almost ate a cat. Somehow that thing survived.
Completely different movie, except for like
Also-
the whole
also-
point.
Like, you know, it was very sinister of the corporation to send the ship there in the first place. They knew exactly what they were doing with that ship. They sent them there to get impregnated by it. So, I mean, the difference here is
Did they not know what they were sending
Dr.
them?
Weir
You were implying that they
is-
did know that in this one they were sending them to get wienered by hell. Like,
No. Dr. Weir is just, you know, an unfortunate victim of circumstance here. How could he possibly know that at the end of the universe?
because he was an
hell would be
android the entire time. No.
But that's okay. I give it to you if that happened. I give that to you. I'd give you the correlation there. But comes back to the first question I asked. Did he know that he sent it there, or? And again, we're never going to know that. We can speculate all day, but did he send it there, or did it just happenstance get there and come back, and now it's calling to him and being like, "I'm back. Come to me. Come back home. You created me. Come with me."
For point of argument, at least my argument, so I can be right, yes. So it's the same movie as Alien. Somebody betrays the people on the
Minus
ship
the
because they
alien.
know more than others because they worked on this
But
or know
does
what they're
he,
going
though?
into.
He does, like, he was clearly possessed by that time. Like, if anything, he was the first one to start showing symptoms of possession, and like that kind of
Yes,
goes
he was.
in line with Nick's line of thought. But like once everyone else got there, because he was probably already part of the ship, like in some way the ship knows his DNA. And I mean, like,
Because he made it.
he
made it.
So
Just
I mean,
like the
that's probably
alien
how
baby.
it knew it was Ripley was the mom. No, so I do not believe it's the same movie. It like it
Sounds
has
the same.
similarities.
Sounds pretty similar to me.
But I don't think they set out to do that. And maybe in that lost footage that Nick was talking about earlier, we could have seen something like that.
Well, I've seen
Probably
no.
not.
A lot of the lost footage is just it's from the initial screening, and it was too gory, and audiences were like, "Don't like it." So they were 100% setting out to just tell the same sci-fi story as Alien, but just
Not
putting
if they were going gory.
exactly. But they wanted to just do it gory and make it scarier, less of a slow burn thriller, and I don't think it hits the mark.
I think it does. It had more pace than the original Alien did.
Yeah.
Pacing.
There's a lot of cat scenes in Alien. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Right,
I
because you
definitely have
want
fallen
because you're
asleep.
like,
So
oh,
many
this
cat jump
because
scares in Alien.
you think the cat's gonna.
Damn it, Jonesy,
Yeah, it's
get over here.
Yeah, it's just doing a better job of jump scaring or like subverting your expectations without just doing like really cool practical effects. Granted, very cool practical effects all over this movie. You don't know which one I'm talking about. Could be Alien, could be this movie, because when you're critiquing them,
Okay, I'll give you this. Who wore it better, the airlock scene?
sending him out, like blasting the alien out and blasting a young boy out.
Yeah,
I think
like,
I think Young Boy has better because it's a different issue, because you like if he didn't have that moment of lucidity, it would be equivalent. It'd be the same thing. They're just basically blasting the monster out of the airlock. But because he has that lucidity moment, and they also had that like mother and son kind of like set up with that too.
Yeah.
So there's
the
just better
baby bear.
emotional.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's emotional impact on that death, where like when they blast the alien.
Hadouken! Point.
1 point.
Right.
But it's literally the same movie. They literally
Ham
did
for
the
the
same
win.
scene.
We got a wedge in there, folks. We're gonna sway some opinions here.
This is something the captain's chair. I want a chair that hangs from the ceiling that just swivels and moves. However, when they got into Rocky territory, they're in space. There's no air. The thing's jostling around. I'm like, wow, that thing's not very secure up there.
Shaky cam beyond belief going on there. Yeah.
I mean, we spent all of our budget trying to like get to Mars and do mining stuff. Like duct tape will hold this mic stand up.
Also the ship, if you look at it when they're what happens? Why do they're doing something? They're hitting some turbulence, if you will, whatever that looks like, and the whole ship is moving in different. It's undulating in different ways. I'm like, I don't know if spacecrafts are supposed to have that much play in them.
Probably.
They've designed a new ship. It's called the floppy ship. Get on in.
Yeah, the floppy ship.
Step right up in the floppy ship.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. But yeah, I always wanted that chair. And a great reveal for him as a captain, too.
Yeah.
And this was obviously pre-Matrix.
Yeah.
And so we have him being the captain of the ship. But, you know, I went back to grab something for my notes or to confirm something for my notes. And as they're kind of giving you the understanding of where they're starting from, their starting point, he is slowly just coming through on this chair, and you're like, is there something moving in the background? All of a sudden we swivel around and we see it's Lawrence Fishburne, and you're like, yes, there we go. There's the man of the hour.
How known is he at this point? He's relatively
not
unknown,
as much.
right?
Yes, he was in Platoon. Before that, he was in some other like supporting cast roles. This is definitely pre-Matrix.
Yeah, I felt like they gave him a star power entrance for
the Tuskegee Airmen, Othello, Fled, Just Cause, Higher Learning. Higher Learning was a pretty big one.
Yeah.
Deep Cover.
Deep Cover.
Yeah.
So he has some prestige. They intentionally gave him that entrance. Yeah.
He had a name. Yeah.
Okay.
Same thing with Sam Neill. I mean, he's hot off of Jurassic Park. They didn't know what that movie was when they hired him, but apparently he got the job. Also, I was just wondering, like, where was Carrie Ann Moss when they were doing the casting for this? Because as soon as that chick pulled up, I was like, is that Carrie Ann Moss? I had to go look it up, and I was like, no, this was someone else.
The lady who plays Stark?
Yes, I think it's Stark.
Okay.
I know her from 101 Dalmatians.
That's why I've never seen this woman before. I would like to say that.
Okay, wow, that's an old one. Yeah, no, I don't remember that. I mean, I've seen that, but that was forever ago. The 101 Dalmatians.
Oh, the original.
Yeah.
That's so she went from 101 Dalmatians to this movie.
To this body horror.
Quite a pivot.
Sci-fi picture.
It was like, I don't know, dogs being slaughtered for coats or spaceships that have a grudge.
I mean, it's basically the same
Really
plot.
Okay, there you go.
Wait, are those the same movies?
No, stop it.
Steven, don't make up
Not
ridiculous
allow,
arguments.
will not allow
and dig
for
your heels
this.
in.
These ridiculous arguments.
Steven, Dr. Weir says in the movie that it beats dying. Would you agree with his sentiment, or would this movie beats dying?
Wait, didn't you say there was a dog in this movie? So it has to be just like 101 Dalmatians.
There you go.
Yeah,
No.
It's like our Souls-like conversation that we're going to have.
Space dog just floating around out there.
Yeah.
He was helping make sure the welds were tight.
Right, he chased off the cat, because if they had the cat in the movie, then it'd be completely different than...
And then it would be Alien. Yeah.
Then
Steven's argument would be even firmer.
has nothing to do with plot and character
Also,
moments
the
or anything
design
like
of
that.
this ship was just lunacy. Why do we need a football field worth of explosives to just disconnect an
I was
escape
wondering
shuttle?
that too.
It's like, you drama queen weird. Why did you go and put all that together like that? You could have just had an eject button and poof.
Well, he
Off
wanted
we
to
go.
blow
Why
himself
did the
to
captain
hell.
start
Come
at
on.
the beginning and then detonate them all? Why didn't he like run all the way back and then come in?
Well, on the new floppy ship, we don't have quite the space for that.
Well, didn't old dude or the dude that like came up and saw the explosives the first time? Didn't it say like disarm and like a big button that he could have just pressed?
It did. He could have totally hit the button. It was 6 seconds, and he was like, "Oh no!" And
Right.
it blew up in his face.
Right. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
that was bad.
And then he just had like the detonator. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Those are some production things that could have at least had it say 2, 1, and as he, maybe he's reaching for it and then it blows up. That's
Or he
something.
slips or something, or don't have a disarm button right in the frame.
Strokes out.
Like,
Yeah. Whoops.
plenty of options with that. I will say, like, a lot of the designs are cool for cool's sake, so I completely just assume that they're making a scene for cool factor rather than any kind of logic.
Yeah.
What?
Absolutely.
Like the tunnel?
Mm-hmm.
The spinny tunnel?
Yeah.
Yeah, the spinny
Yeah,
tunnel.
I mean-
it looked like a meat grinder. Yeah.
Oh, it's an iris. It's the eye. It's the focusing.
That
It's
was
like the whole
looked like,
tunnel's like this, and it's got the thing. Yeah.
It felt like a haunted house. Like when
Yes.
you go into the haunted houses, like that's one of the, you always have to walk over the tunnel that's spinning. But when you got through that mid moment of walking through that and you got to like the gravity drive is pretty cool.
The gravity drive was
thing
really
is
cool.
awesome.
Design.
It felt very Del Toro.
Wasn't it inspired
to
by
me.
like Hellraiser or something with the cube?
Yes. It as well as the way that Weir looked at the end.
Yes.
Like
Copying
really,
more movies, I see.
that level of gore. DJ in the
Inspired,
med bay getting killed
Yes,
was
you
a
grab
pretty
a
gory scene.
little piece here, a little piece there, and then you make your own movie.
Yeah, that's what that's what they did. Like, you say Alien, but I see Alien and Hellraiser and
I see The
We
Shining.
talked-
I literally have The
Flatliners,
Shining in
The
space written in
Shining.
my notes.
They kind of put all of those together and bundled it up in a time where it didn't really have competition for that space. Mic drop.
Yeah.
I even had in my notes that this movie, Event Horizon, inspired Ghost Ship too. Where
Absolutely.
And it's inspiring my movie, where I'm going to go into ChatGPT and say, make a movie that combines the elements of Alien, The Shining, and Hellraiser into one movie and call it
If that
Doom.
spits out Event Horizon, I will give you go
Yeah.
into ChatGPT
$1
right
million.
now. Type all these things, and if you could get it to spit out Event Horizon, you win. I will concede to the argument. Catherine,
All
did
right.
you say Ghost Ship?
Yeah,
Did you drop a Ghost Ship reference?
She
Sure
did drop
did.
Ghost Ship.
sure did. Cam agreed with me on that though.
I also feel like Ghost Ship gets to tag along with like 13 Ghosts in House on Haunted
I
Hill.
didn't say it was a
type
good
time.
movie. I just said it inspired to make that. Movie.
Okay.
Yeah. 'cause,
Okay,
like,
fair enough. You didn't quantify it. You just said Ghost Ship, and that was it. You moved on. I will concede to that.
Well, because those people were like, dude, they're all making ghost stories about like haunted houses and stuff. What if we just do a ship? And they're like, yeah.
We
do
already
that.
had a spaceship, so let's do like an actual ship. Yeah.
We've never seen that before. Let's do
Yeah.
it. Sign me up. Hi, Captain.
Movie titled Void Bound.
Did you really put shit in
You're
GPT?
doing this right now, and did you?
A salvage crew stumbles upon an abandoned space station orbiting a black hole as they explore a derelict structure, realizing the station isn't just empty, it's alive.
See, that would have been.
It's
Alien.
feeding on their fears, twisting their reality, and releasing a malevolent entity trapped within.
I think ChatGPT is just using Event Horizon to spit you out.
Yeah.
Something.
Let's read the.
Yeah.
A rescue crew is tasked with investigating the mysterious reappearance of a spaceship that's been lost for 7 years. That's IMDb's recap.
Oh my god.
They just went there.
It was like, hey, wait a minute. I don't have ChatGPT goes, I don't have to do any work. The movie's right there.
Yeah, it's already there.
Get up and
There you go.
Give it back to him.
They just plucked it off and put it in your response.
You know, like, despite their dumping money into a VX, you know, scene in the beginning, like, the set design was really good on this.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's definitely.
I definitely felt like I was there. They were doing stuff. Unless they had to add in floating objects, then it wasn't.
I wish they had they played it up like they were doing this for a 3D audience or 3D. And
Yes.
that was not even on the table. 3D at that point, I think 3D had already scrammed. Like we were done with 3D glasses and that. So I don't know why they played
Think
into
like a
this
tree
so
and leaf.
heavily.
Yeah, there were no black and.
It was so unnecessary. But I thought the pacing of the movie was great. Like it just kept building the stakes. It kept keeping you tense and not knowing when the next jump scare was going to happen or the next death will happen. And I thought they did a great job with that.
It kept the mystery going. I was really interested in what was going to happen, how it was going to happen, why. Yeah. And like I definitely had that slow build, very similar to The Shining, where you're just constantly that impending
and questioning.
Doom. Yeah.
And you're questioning if Weir knows what's going on because
I
clearly
was
nobody
sus
else knows
on Weir
what's
like
going
almost
on.
immediately. Like I was like something's
Oh
up
yeah,
with that
for
dude.
sure.
This guy's super sus.
Yeah.
Looks like he plays.
Especially
with
when he
dinosaurs.
called one of them delusional, and I was like, "Whoa,
Whoa there,
I
Katherine.
know.
whoa,
He just
coming
went
in
right
hot."
over the edge.
No offense, but you're delusional. I said no offense.
Clearly.
Right.
I mean, my mystery ship reappeared after 7 years. Clearly, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Exactly.
The trope of it always gets me of people seeing their loved ones in these movies. Insert any it's a pretty standard trope. It's like, oh, my dead son, my husband, my wife, whatever. Like they ran across the thing in this ship that's
So we got
in outer space. Like, so I gotta go chase them, and you're like, don't do that.
Right,
Don't do
why?
that.
But didn't they have a discussion that
why?
this is like all in their head, so it's not real or whatever?
But they keep going with it. But they just keep running with it. They're like, no, they're really here. My child that I left back on Earth is magically here. And I think the kid was in a wheelchair as well. So he's running around.
he was...
Doesn't that draw any flags in your brain?
Nope.
Nope. No, I'm just going to go do that thing.
Nope. That's great.
She's just gonna go chase right after him.
And then
Going
she
right in.
totally bites it.
Yeah. Honestly, I knew she was gonna die, but I didn't expect it to happen like that. Or like, oh, she dead. Like she dead.
Yeah.
Dead.
She really did. And then the little kid looks over the hole and just smiles that evil, menacing smile.
Yeah.
When the ship's lights start going out and starts coming in and closing in on the audience, like when I saw that in the theater, I was in a narrow theater, so like it wasn't stadium seating like it is today in a lot of places, and there weren't many people in there, and it definitely grabbed a hold of you. Like it upped the suspense factor of that movie quite a bit.
I also saw
that's
this
kind
in
of
the theater.
The magic of the theater. Like you're not as immersed when your kids are dance-a-thoning in the background and you've got the movie playing on the couch and like you're still fumbling through on your phone. Like it's not the same experience. I'm just like,
Yeah, I also saw this in the theater in '97 when it came out, and it was a totally different experience. And maybe that's why we have a little more love for it, I guess. I have reasons why I like it for other things, but seeing it in that manner, where it was intended to be seen, definitely more immerses you into the whole story of it all.
Yeah, I would
agree. Digital high five.
I would love to actually go see this in like a vintage theater that's doing like a spooky sci-fi night or something like that.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I would enjoy that. I couldn't say that I would not
Would
hate that.
Yeah,
Drive-in could work too.
7 when this
Yeah.
came out, so I did not see this in the theater.
Yeah,
No.
I saw
Something
Titanic
that,
in the
like,
theater
takes
though,
your
so
eyes.
make that make sense. I don't know.
Seeing a movie in the theater is a totally different experience than watching it at home. Yeah, you have all your comforts. You can pause it, go to the bathroom, get all your snacks, whatever. But like, I don't say not being able to leave. Like, you can leave the theater, but having the giant screen completely fill your
Feeling
vision,
immersing you.
sound.
Yeah.
It's a whole different vibe. Like when I when I got my associate's degree, I had to finish public speaking, which was always the worst thing for me. And one of my last speeches was about going to the theater and experiencing, and this was in 2005, I think. But it was like, that was my what my paper was about, was to go experience the theater, try to keep theaters alive. Yes, they have to charge more because the studio charges more, and money. It's all very expensive, but the experience is something that you can't get anywhere else. Even just the sticky floors was one of my criteria. Like, yeah, the sticky floors are gross, but it's still
Required.
part of that experience.
Yeah.
What,
I'm
did you say we're
with you.
fired?
It's required.
It's
Oh,
perfectly
it's
safe.
required. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't realize you were frozen, Steven. I thought you were like legitimately like pouting and angry.
Yes, I'm very big upset.
It's like, what's
These
going on
people
with
like
Steven
this
there?
movie. I'm so mad.
I'm so mad. Why does nobody hate this movie? I didn't hate the movie either. It's just boring.
Again, in a theater setting, you wouldn't have been as bored.
I would not have
There
been as bored.
wouldn't have
You're 100% correct.
your comfortable couch wouldn't have been there.
It
and-
sucked me into the. I was sent to hell.
And you're
the
like, that
kids
was nice.
activated
Let's go
the warp
back.
drive upstairs.
All right, I was.
Set the timer for 7 years. The gravity drive.
Yeah,
God,
gravity.
Dad, it's a gravity drive. We told you already.
I realize it's basically Star Trek, but it's a gravity drive instead of a warp drive. I mean, clearly they're using photons in warp drive.
Oh my god.
We use explosives to send our spacecraft through space.
Tons of explosives.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like on the way when they were building that, like, they stopped off at the fireworks stand off the side of the road and are like, yo, I think I got a good plan to get this thing just split in half. We're going to put a bunch of bomb knockers all around the side here.
So the
Easy
craft
come.
is to candles as Event Horizon is to explosives, right?
Yeah. It is. Movies.
Okay, so this is something that I don't know if. I mean, I guess everyone could has a say in this, but this movie did not have any source music in it. It was all score or tension-filled music until the credits, and I think that hurt it, at least for me. It was Orbital. This is my first being exposed to the band Orbital, and we went deep in listening to Orbital after this. But it was the 1997 of it, the 90s of it. They were like, we got to put a banging track at the end of this movie to set this movie, to send these people out of the theater. It's a great song. They're a great band. But I think ultimately, in the end, it kind of hurt it for me. When I got to the end credits and I was like, okay, I'm left with this feeling of dread, this feeling of are these people actually being rescued, or are they actually going to hell? What's happening? And then we have some rockin' techno at the time, I think we called it. It was EDM, whatever you want to define it as, instead of just having some tense
ambience.
score.
Yeah, like it kind of just like
think,
is like, oh well, guess the movie's over. Won't think about that anymore.
Yeah, go out to the theater, and you're like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing. Like, instead of just leaving you feeling that sense of dread walking out of the theater. Like,
that's a good point. Yeah.
No different. Like when I watched The Ring in the theater, I left the theater, and it's been a while, and I'm talking about the remake, not the unfortunately the we couldn't get the Japanese one here unless it was on DVD. But I don't recall having a rockin' song at the end of that. It left you. The phone rang and I almost shit my pants. Like I was like, oh no, they're calling me and I'm gonna die. So
Prodigy.
Leaving it on. What? No, it was Orbital.
They say Prodigy, funky shit. Bleep that over the closing titles.
I swear it was Orbital. Okay, maybe it's Prodigy. Future Nick.
But I mean, like you're not wrong in your assessment of that whole thing. Like you could be wrong about the track. We were definitely all about Prodigy by that time.
Them too.
Well past Fat of the Land.
Exactly.
And it's a track from that actual album. It had zero place in it. And actually, I don't even think that song made it to the soundtrack. In fact, I think there is just a score for it to buy. So it's strange.
Yeah. So then why do you? Yeah, you have no. There's no selling that after the fact. You can't put together the Craft soundtrack and sell that for this movie because it's one song, whether it's Orbital or Prodigy. That's all you got, and then you got a bunch of movie score. So why even put it there? Like Paul W.S. Anderson or whoever the producer was, why did you do this? Like, it doesn't make sense.
They wanted to do a 90s dance montage at the end
where
all the crew members are dancing in hell.
So,
a dance.
We'll go out on a limb here. When did Spawn come out?
Same
1990, same time. So at the same time that this movie came out, because they were probably both summer bangers.
They were.
The soundtrack to Spawn was infinitely better for that summer with the Crystal Method and Filter doing
Agreed.
Can't You Trip Like I Do. So there was already this kind of like, like buzz for that kind of music, and they're like, I don't know, dude, we did copy Alien all the way, like why don't we just kind of copy this too? And Steven's like, yep, that's what they did.
What was the name of the song?
Deep diving.
The song that's sampled is called Funky Shit by Prodigy.
But do you know what? You can go to the funky.store to get some great merch over there. There's great nostalgia items, t-shirts, sweaters. Check that out at funky.store.
He knows we walked
when you
right
think
into
Steven's
it.
not paying attention.
I did.
He's waiting for the
for
store
him.
scare. He's just
think he's checked
sitting
out.
in there, green flashing computers in the med bay, and he's just like, Funky Store.
Funky.store.
The tunnel, speaking of green things, the tunnel that he goes into, that Weir goes into to fix the ship.
Yes.
Was such an awesome set piece. I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
That I felt like that specific scene, whenever he's like working on fixing something and he starts getting like flashes or premonitions or whatever, was taken directly from The Shining, where it's like the banging drum and you see boom with different things. It's almost like Wendy when she's running through the hotel at the end. That's
Frantic.
yeah.
There's a lot of inspiration taken from other movies to make this. It's not just a straight remake.
Wait, didn't they do that in Alien?
Probably.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not. I'll take E for 1,000.
Steven.
Oh, God. Oh no, where did my notes go?
But that was a really cool scene. I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was a really well done set piece. To get him away, to kind of to do what they needed to do with him, to get us to question more of what he's all about and what's happening to him, because he seemingly doesn't know what the hell is going on, or at least they're showing us he doesn't know what's going on. But also lying to our face at the same time, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know that Prime is making a series off of this?
Go on.
I did not.
There's not a lot of information about it yet. So I think it's still in the writing stages, but they're supposed to be making a series.
Fantastic. I would love that. I think if this had more time, like runtime with the series,
yes,
it'd be a lot better. I
have a feeling we kind of watched or read some of the same material, Stephen, but I think with the extra footage that is lost to time, they could have put out a cool director's cut and added a little more to this and given a little more fleshed out
all that
some
footage
things
was
that
lost.
No. I still think it needs to be outside of a movie. I don't. Even if it was like a 2.5 hour movie, I don't think you could have pulled off.
I feel like
all
there's
of
a
the
lot more that they can
storytelling.
explore with this.
The world build, like, and again, I know I'm fixating, but like, I love Dead Space. I think it's a great game. It's really covering the same groundwork because it is inspired by this film. I understand that. I can rub both my lobes together and come to that conclusion. And I think that's what I want to see out of this film is more.
I went to Dead Space on IMDb, and the first review is, I saw Alien. I loved Alien. Dead Space is no Alien. Wow, is this written by you, Steven?
Dead Space is great. I don't know where that guy's coming from.
I saw Event Horizon.
I saw Event Horizon. I saw Alien. This is no Alien. I'm going to go play Dead Space.
I read a lot of Reddits about this being similar to Warhammer 40,000. Does anybody want to weigh in on that?
Oh, that's a stretch if I've ever seen it. That's
that's a stretch.
Like Warhammer.
That's why I was asking. I read information. I was like, I'm not familiar with this.
Yes. Now, Warhammer does take, like, holy space hell. Like, that is a concept, but...
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Screw it. This movie just copied Warhammer.
No argument.
It's so obvious. I should have known. Yeah, this is just a poorly written story in the Warhammer universe. So, yeah, bad movie.
Yeah. No, other than dimensional warp hell.
Well, at least we changed Steven's argument.
That's the only correlation there.
So
if some Marines, some fallen Marines of chaos came through the warp gate,
right?
Then we're talking. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah,
it was in the lost footage. It was in the lost footage, like
definitely.
Sure it was.
I mean, this was right around the time that I was playing Warhammer.
Oh yeah,
this
Warhammer's old. So.
That would have been if that came out. That if some Marines came out of that warp, I would have lost my mind.
And the Horus heresy and all of the chaos uses a lot of eye symbolism. So
they really do. This is true.
Oh, maybe it was Starship Troopers.
It's just a bad Warhammer. This is a bad Warhammer 40K movie.
There you go.
Well, I believe that when they talk of angels, like described as kind of like an eye of
biblically,
eyes, kind of
biblically
thing,
accurate
like,
angels.
Yeah, biblically accurate angels are terrifying. Yeah.
So like I kind of feel like it delved into that evangelical side of the movie. Obviously, there's a lot of symbolism throughout it. I just think that was like one other step. They at the end of the day, I just think it's a crappy rewritten Bible. That's my
Scores,
take on
scores,
Event
scores,
Horizon.
scores. What are our scores?
This movie is a crappy
we get Steven
rewritten
to
Bible.
agree?
They took the Bible and like just put it in space.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
there
the
you go.
Bible in space, bro.
Space Bible.
Right.
Space Bible.
This is Dante's Inferno in space, like obviously.
Oh, duh.
Instead of the rings, it's just a shaft.
I mean, there were rings on the shaft. I think some of it was based on the 9 Circles of Hell. So
It was.
They just
it
ripped
was
off Dante's
rigid
Inferno.
for the.
Steven, you keep
escape
flip flopping
pod's
all over the
pleasure.
place.
I know
It's
how
aliens.
much you
It's
like
Dante's
this.
Inferno.
I'm just giving Nick a whole bunch of clips.
I'm gonna get a phone call after, being like, "I really liked it. I just needed to, I needed to ham it up for the episode."
Yeah.
We couldn't
I
all
had to
like
be.
it.
I had to be the odd man out to make this an interesting conversation.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's no craft.
Oh god.
The candle. There's no candle budget in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really. I'm just.
Disappointing.
I'm making amends for not like really just drilling into the craft.
I was expecting you to. I was fully prepared
I was
for that.
expecting you to.
I was just so
I-
indifferent on it. Like it's so mid.
Well, we can always go back and do a
remaster,
revisit if you
yeah.
really want to.
I guess I was the odd
All right.
man
Do
out
we
on the
want to get
craft.
into?
Yes, we do.
Yes. Let's get into some scoring here, because I know we could go into some things all day, but let's get some scores down, and then we can tackle some other things if we need to. All right. So I think the way we should do this is everyone should just run down their scores of how, of their nostalgia. So the criteria that we've developed is nostalgia, production value, spirit, rewatchability, and overall thoughts. And those numbers will dictate our overall scores for this movie. So I think we each give our rundown of what our numbers are and our final score. I think that's how we could do or should do this. Does anybody want to start?
I can.
I got my.
Nope,
Yeah,
nope.
go. Tell us.
Okay.
No,
Tell us.
No, tell us how.
Tell us. Okay.
How much you
Nostalgia
loved it.
bias. Given that it touches on a lot of things that I enjoy, it's a good time period. I do like me some sci-fi. I gave it a 6. So a little bit above the median. I hadn't seen it. It's like I enjoy stuff from that time area, but like, I was a wee lad and not as into sci-fi
You were a
stuff
baby.
at that time. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Production value, I gave it an 8. I would want to rate it higher, but again, a little too much egregious use of CGI, which you obviously didn't need to do because you've done so well with all of your practical effects that like taking some of that budget that you put on the CGI and maybe reshoot it or like shooting things a little bit differently to make it look cool.
Yeah.
I got a dock there. Spirit 7. I think it set out to do something. I do think it achieved doing it. It wanted to be a body horror, spooky, tension building film, and it does do that for the most part. Rewatchability 6. I think this is one that I need to sit some time with and come back and watch it again. Maybe a little bit. I think rewatching it bang bang back to back was a little bit of a mistake on my part.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. You probably needed to let this one simmer for a little bit before you watched it again.
I think like watching it maybe like next year or something.
You gotta wait for
I might be
your eyes
like
to grow back.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I'll come back in the springtime. Just water them.
And overall, I gave it a
You gotta
7
get your eyes.
because I think it's a well put together film. I definitely didn't like have an awful time. I think I just wasn't enjoying it, and I don't think this is one a lot of people enjoy on the first time around. So, but it was really cool. There's a lot of cool. It looks like it's definitely inspiring. As in, people see this and say that they can do it better, and I think that has merit. So giving it a total of 34 out of 50, giving it a nice 68%.
Which, based on the way you started this conversation, was not the number that I was expecting
No.
to come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Shocked.
I could be
give us a
critical
bait
of
and
it,
switch here.
but give it the kudos that it deserves. I'm still critical of it.
Okay.
I mean, this should be really like at least an 80%er for me, but it wasn't. So like, if it was a bit more good, it would be up there.
Lack of better words.
Yeah. I think
good.
bringing in a little bit more storytelling and I would keep the visual efforts in, because it's a very, very cool looking movie. I think I just needed a little bit more to grab onto to really enjoy it and engage me.
Okay. All right, Cam, you want to drop your scores?
Yeah, fair enough, Steven. We'll take your numbers. Gonna mute your audio when you were talking on it. No. As far as nostalgia, I'm in on an 8 on this. I saw this movie in the theater. I was scared watching it. It jumped me all over the place. On rewatch, it was still fun. The production value, the set designs were outstanding. They definitely lost it on the effects. And if anything, it's also kind of the turning point in movies too. Like when we start looking at post-Jurassic Park, that, you know, they feel the need to try to overcompensate in areas with this, because now this is an available tool, yet not all of them know how to wield that tool. And that's evident here. So nostalgia is at an 8. Our production value is at a 7 for me. That spirit and intent, I think, is also in a 7 as well. That, again, that Paramount shift into space, like, it set the tone. There was a lot of spookiness and jump scaring and things going on, and they set out to, you know, kind of make their own thing, while they did grab and take inspiration from all around them, like every other movie person has ever done ever. But they went and they did it. They put it out there. So 7 on that. Rewatchability, you know, is at a 6 for me. It's definitely worth a rewatch. Is it worth a rewatch within the last 24 hours of seeing it? No. Is it worth a rewatch from 25 years ago? Absolutely. If you haven't seen it recently, I would definitely go and see it again. It was fun. Overall, I would give this an 8 as far on the score, with like a total of 36. So we're at 72%. Cranking out the score. It was good. It's not the best horror sci-fi thriller out there. I don't even know like how many movies fall into that realm. Obviously Alien. But
what movie?
I don't know. Something about eating cats. So yeah, there's like, it's good. It's not great. I definitely had a good time. I'd recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Katherine, you want to drop your scores?
Yep. For nostalgia and bias, I gave it a 5. Like Steven, I did not grow up watching this. I don't have any nostalgia for it. But again, like he said, I did like that genre. I do like the films that were clearly inspired to create this one. So that's where I sit with a 5. And then with production value, I really liked the practical effects and the horror effects, the makeup. The sets were incredible, especially with like the gravity core. I thought that was a really, really cool set. However, it was heavily influenced by Paramount with like meddling with the editing, and the test audience is not doing well.
Yeah.
That they had, this was a 130-minute film originally, and they cut it down to 90 minutes.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And
That's
it was
crazy.
apparently ridiculously gory that they had to cut out a ton of stuff. However, curiosity, I would love to see that.
I mean, it's something we didn't see at the time. Like, that wasn't, this was kind of that kind of gore level was, we hadn't had Saw and that kind of stuff at this point in time.
Yeah, no Hostels, no Saws. The worst you're gonna get is like a Jason or a Freddy type killer, or Hannibal Lecter, you know, trying
I didn't
his.
finish Hellraiser yet, but doesn't it get pretty gory in Hellraiser? Or is
It does get gory in Hellraiser, and like the end scene in both of these movies, kind of have a similar take on,
Okay.
that effect. So, and I mentioned it earlier, but DJ hanging in the medical bay when they came in at the end, and he was all like
suspension.
Yeah. They just like took all his organs and just left him hanging there. Like, oh dang, that was some body horror for sure.
Like that's where they were going in the gore side. Like not too bad. And I just looked it up for comparison. When you talk about gore, like 7 had come out a year before this, or 2 years. It was 95 that 7 came out. That was like a whole nother, like, that really set the stage on like shock level of stuff in film to that degree, because like I don't think audiences were prepared, and they were probably like, hold my beer, we're gonna go up to space. And then the studio was like, no, mom says we have 7 at home, and you're like, nah.
All right, let's get to the end of Catherine's thing, because I know we need to start wrapping up here soon. Nope, no problem.
But the CGI was pretty rough. That was some points knocked off for that. So I gave production value a 7. Spirit and emotional value, intent, I actually gave it an 8, because while Steven thinks it's a weak point of having inspiration taken from other films, I thought that was a strength in a way, because it shows that you are inspired by someone else's work, and it's the greatest compliment you can get, is creating something else inspired by that. But I could tell that the director really wanted to tell more, and unfortunately it was cut from the film. Like, I really wanted more of that hellscape, more of what exactly happened. So I gave it an 8 for that. Rewatchability, I gave it an 8.5. I liked the slow build. I liked the mystery of it, very much in line with The Shining, and how it just like that impending doom, that unease just building throughout the film until like all hell breaks loose. So I definitely watch this again. I enjoyed it, and overall I did give it an 8.5 as well, just for the twist, the not major nostalgia, but I just love the inspiration. And then it was a 37/50 overall with a 74%. So just sitting a little above Cam there.
Okay.
I like it.
So my nostalgia is an 8.5 on this one. It's been over 20 years since I've seen this. I think easily. It's been early 2000s. Probably was the last time I watched it. Definitely saw this in the theater, and definitely carried that over till present day. That I had, it still did what it was supposed to do. It held that place, in that nostalgic place for me. Production value, as we've all said, great miniature work. Set design was fantastic. The CG was where we all took points off for it. The ending music was also I took a point, at least a half a point off for the end music, because it didn't need to be there. Like I think it hurt it ultimately, but I gave production value an 8. The spirit was definitely a 7. I just did a good job keeping the tension and the suspense. And again, I've watched, this is 20 years later, and was sitting at my desk watching it, and still in suspense of where the next jump scare is or whatever, in this, in a sci-fi thriller. Rewatchability, I put at a 7. I will watch it again. I'm not going to watch it back to back, but I will definitely revisit this again, for sure. It's one of it holds that nostalgic place for me, so I still would watch it again. So I give that a 7. My overall thoughts is a 7 as well. It's, for being a body horror movie in the 90s, or at least a tiny bit of a body horror movie that they couldn't do, because again the studio got scared and pulled back. It did what it could do, and so I give that a 7. So my final score is a 75 on this movie. So we're pretty much all real close together. 75, 74, 72, and 68. So we're all pretty tight here on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Some people just like to complain in line. We all went to the same destination, apparently.
Steven just wanted good entertainment.
That is why it is so important to have objective score metrics, because this is why I really pushed for us to do this format, I really pushed to do this show, is you will go on and read a review on like Rotten Tomatoes or something by a professional critic that sounds like what I did, and then just rank it like horribly, even though there's a ton of like
positive things
good
about it.
places to give it points. Just because I didn't like objectively enjoy it doesn't mean I can't subjectively enjoy it. I can still objectively rate it.
There we go. Nick, edit that together.
All right. Let me piece this sentence together.
Yeah.
All right, Stephen, well, I know you need to get out of here, so let's you want to round us out with some plugs since you are so fantastic at doing that.
The Plug Master has been summoned from...
Plug Master.
I've punched through the ghost ship into your ears. You should check out all of our channels. We do a lot of different and great things. You have Nick over at Firehazard 508 Creations, making playthings into display things. You have Katherine over on Spectacle Views, where she is living her best Disney millennial life. And you can check out all the things going on in her trips and everything Disney. And then you have Cam over at Never Touching Grass, where he's doing Call of Duty Zombies. Speaking of body horror, there's a new game coming out called Black Ops 6 with some zombos to be slain, and Cam's gonna be doing that over at Never Touching Grass. And then you have me over at Funky Games, where we play through all the quintessential video games, because we're video game posers and we're trying not to be posers anymore. So check that out over at Funky Games.
And make sure you like and subscribe here so you can see more of this content. But I have activated the warp drive, and we're getting sent to hell. So thank you again.
It's a gravity drive.
Gravity drive, warp drive.
Come on, Dad.
All right. Well, thank you again thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.
Adios.
Bye.